From a massive ship, military and the nuclear in the Pacific Ocean that ended up going horribly wrong, to a chemical factory in Nevada exploding after a fire broke out, and an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Experts call them worst environmental disaster. Here are 5 of the most expensive mistakes in all history. St. Simon Sound's played off the southeast coast of Georgia. It plays a major role in maritime trade as massive tankers leave the port of Brunswick and Georgia, off to their final destination. Unfortunately for the MV Golden Ray, they only made it about 20 minutes away from the port. The Golden Ray was a 660-foot car carrier built in the Yonghae Dockyard in South Korea. It was 116 feet wide and measured at 71,000 gross, carry up to 7,400 cars across the globe, and moved at about 22 miles per hour. Thanks to a single diesel engine and 24 fuel tanks carrying 300,000 gallons of fuel. On September 8 of 2019, the Golden Ray left to the port of Brunswick en route to the port of Boston. From there, they planned on carrying 4,300 cars to the Middle East. She left Georgia around midnight, but capsized 23 minutes later. The vessel began to list a nautical term for lee, and never recovered. Since St. Simon Sound is only 32, the ship's side likely got stuck on the seat. Thankfully, 23 crew members and the captain made it out okay. But the Coast Guard still had to save for them after the accident. The capsize sparked environmental concerns as the ship's fuel tanks were when it got stuck in the south that the 4,300 cars on board were full of diesel gas, and antifreeze crews began pumping the fuel out by the end of September, but were only able to empty 2. Now all they had to do was get the ship on stock. Impossible. Extensive fire and water damage rendered the ship a total loss of $80 million lost, not to mention the cost of salvage itself. It took until September 26 of 2021 to remove the entire ship, cutting it into 6 sections. They also recovered almost 20,000 pounds of debris from the area. In total, it is estimated the salvage operation has caused somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million. According to the Golden Ray capsized, incorrect numbers and calculations. In other words, someone didn't check their behind. Las Vegas. Henderson, Nevada is the second largest city in the state. They used to be known for their high supply of magnesium during World War II, but a massive chemical fire in 1988 put Henderson on the map for a much more expensive reason. Enter Pacific Engineering and Production Company of Nevada, also known as PEPCO, and their massive chemical plant. Located 10 miles south of Las Vegas at the time, they were one of 2 American companies producing ammonium perchlorate to RAP chemical use rocket boosters, the same guy used on board the 1988. The fire broke out at the factory, generating a massive explosion. A cameraman stationed to save distance away captured the moment of the blast. Few minutes later, a second explosion sends another shockwave across the ground. This one, however, was a bit bigger than the last one. Explosions erase a pet complex, a marshmallow manufacturing facility off the face of the earth, and destroyed cars down power lines, and damaged other buildings within a 1.5 mile radius. Sadly, 2 people lost lives in the disaster and over 300 others got hurt. Thankfully, nobody seen in this recording was hurt in any way. In total, fire caused over $100 million in damages, all because they broke spark from a blowtorch lit. So fiberglass on fire. Surfside, Florida is a small town of about 5,600 people located in Miami-Dade County. There were residential beach communities, supporting several multi-story condominiums next to Surfside Beach. Unless you lived or vacationed there, probably never heard of Surfside, Florida until June 20th. 2020 South. Couldn't get any worse? Everyone's heart skipped a collective beat when one of the Surfside condominium complex's Champlain Towers collapsed unexpectedly. Champagne Tower Sound was built in 1981 as the first building, and a 3-tower condominium complex. North Tower went up, and 82 and East Tower went up. and 93-story buildings. But the Sound Tower contained the most, with 136 condos and the penthouse suite at 114A, while most of the residents slept on the South Tower. Collapsed by the entire western wait, 826 others. The New York Times reported the building's construction. Standing orders were hanging concrete and corroded rebar in the buildings. Several other sources during the building a year after the collapse. Judge Michael Huntsman approved. Hedge fund manager Larry Benedict hosted 23% gains. We deliver $95 million in pure profit to his clients in the first half of 2020. Tim did it again during the worst market years. As you'll discover, Mary doesn't invest the traditional way. This approach has nothing to do with my wife. 79 reactors in Pennsylvania decided to have a nuclear meltdown was generated in Londonderry Township, Pennsylvania, a tiny town only a 3-mile island, is in fact a trial island in the middle of the 1960s. After the second 3 reactors came online to produce electricity on March 20, 1979, a mechanical failure triggered a chain reaction, leading to the partial meltdown of the reactor 2. The water pumps that were supposed to function and inefficient design plans caused the complete chaos. Apparently, they used the same alarm sounds for several different emergency situations. Radioactive into the community and a massive steam geyser. Thankfully, nobody got hurt in the disaster and doctors have never laid any health issues to the accident. The cleanup took 12 years and cost over $1 billion or $2 billion as of 2000. Pointing to coincidentally a James Bond film called The China Syndrome came out 2 weeks before the 3-Mile Island meltdown. It was about a fictional meltdown outside of Los Angeles. The nuclear industry at the time dismissed the illness far-fetched. 500 people from 37 countries have gone to space. Most are American and Russian, followed by a handful of Chinese, and a few badges from other countries. But space travel is easy, and sometimes it's not safe. Most people evolved to the Challenger disaster in '86. When the space shuttle exploded shortly after takeoff, there was another incident in 2003. That just as deadly, the space shuttle Columbia was returning to Earth. Jewelry burst. 1,007 crew members on board, however, it disintegrated. When it re-entered the atmosphere, exploded in a massive fireball. An investigative board found that a large chunk of insulating foam fell off the external tank and hit the left wing shortly after the Columbia launched. Apparently, this wasn't the first time this happened either. According to NASA, the bullet on during previous missions, resulting in minor to potentially catastrophic damage. They knew this was an issue and came under heavy scrutiny when Columbia re-entered the atmosphere after 16 days in space. A wind damage allowed us to breach the heat shield, destroying the internal link structure. The space shuttle became unstable and eventually broke apart. According to the LA Times, the investigation cleanup cost the government $400 million. That destroyed shuttle itself constitute $1 billion later. That day, President Bush appeared on TV, saying this day has brought terrible mission control in Houston. Lost the contact with our space shuttle Columbia. The show is lost. So, you need to be just like this one. Click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.